Lucian in the middle for chromatic reasons. How are you? Good. Fantastic. So I'm very happy. I'm Enrico Letta. I'm the Dean of the School of Politics, Economics and Global Affairs at IE University. And I'm very happy to be here with two fantastic people that will tell us how to keep startups in Europe. Amazing. This is the main question of our panel today. Is a question that is a complicated one, but I would like to start asking Lucian, what is this?
Oh, who knows about this? Raise your hand. EU Inc., it says. Anyone?
No, one.
Oh, if you want, yeah. So this is basically one legal entity for companies in Europe. So you can deal in any country in sort of the same kind of way to make it a bit simple. For us, this was one of the biggest things that has been coming up for years. We've been working on it with Mr. Letta since more than 2 years. To actually, let's say, for us, it's for startups, it will create more investments into startups. It's going to lift the borders between countries. Yes, it's going to be more competition between you, right? And the winners will take more, but you also have like a bigger potential of a big single market, right? You can reach 450 million people in Europe. That should increase your valuation in your companies. That should increase the ticket sizes of your investment, and it will also increase, hopefully, the ticket sizes that the funds will invest. So all in all, it's a good thing. We're almost there. The race is not won yet.
You are very optimistic. We are exactly. The beginning of the journey because it is the famous 28 regime. I think maybe you heard the idea of the 28 regime. It's the idea to have at the European level a 28 virtual state that doesn't exist with its own corporate law to help a startup and to create a unique legal environment, easier. 28 because we don't have a 28 member states, so it's a virtual one, and with the idea that it is valid everywhere. But the Commission, this is why the choice of EU Inc., the Commission said there will be one day a 28 member states. So Iceland, Montenegro, Ukraine. So we need to change the name. This is why EU INC. The proposal is today in the discussion of the European Parliament and the Council of Ministers. You are fundamental for this proposal. You have to push your national governments, you have to push the members of Parliament, of the European Parliament that you know, do not waste their time. Because exactly. If this proposal needs 3 years' time to be approved, what do you think?
Yeah, something like that. But this is the biggest issue. We need to be faster and thinking bigger. That's the main issue in Europe, according to me. You should keep it. There you go.
So the key point now is to ask Miguel Alcalá. Miguel Alcalá is the big boss of Spark, BBVA. Spark is the main and most important pillar of the way in which a great global bank as BBVA is working on technology, on startup, on innovation. So I'll start with you on that, Miguel Angel, by asking you, in your view, of course we started with EU Inc., but I would like to understand what is, in your view, today, the main problem for scale-up in Europe of startups, and why you think, this is the main, a little bit provocative question, a big traditional bank as BBVA can beat venture capital or a new fintech to be the one who will finance all these people and to try to make them successful.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Letta. So, I mean, as we are going to speak today about fixing things, let me start with a very optimistic message, because I think it is worth. I mean, Europe has a massive opportunity ahead for the coming years, a massive opportunity. Europe is not catching up other markets like US or the Chinese one. Europe is already leading some of the most relevant sectors in the technology ecosystem, space, energy, lifestyle. So in that sense, Europe is already a reference on a global scale. Today, Atomico has released a report saying that Europe needs, for the next decade, for the next 10 years, 1 trillion euros to maintain the growth rate we have currently. And there are more than 30 trillion euros on savings in Europe. So there is plenty of capital, there is talent, there is technology, there are good founders. So we have all that we need to make Europe leading the global tech ecosystem. And then I try to see this in a very practical, through a very practical point of view. I think in resources, in capital. When a company wants to scale and they decide to open new markets, they need to go to new countries, they always work with a sense of scarcity. They always work with the limited resources, time, people, money, capital. So, and what they find out when they enter in new markets, and we are speaking about Europe now, is that they find different labor markets, they find different tax legislation, they find different regulation. So at the end of the day, what is happening for these companies that wants to scale in Europe is that they need to waste a lot of resources just to manage complexity.
So this is why this is fundamental to
This is totally crazy, because in the way you deploy your capital, in the way you deploy your resources, is what can make you to become a global company or to fall behind. So this is I like to see this idea, and in this sense, fragmentation is one of the first structural barriers we need to fix, fragmentation. If we help companies not to waste resources in the international expansion, automatically fragmentation will be fixed.
It actually has
Can I ask you,
sure.
Lucien, one point? You are the big boss of the Dutch ecosystem of startups. Why I underline the Dutch? Because the Netherlands is one of the European countries with the most dynamic capital market, with the most modern. You have pension funds, you have the capacity in your market. Only 3 countries in Europe, Sweden, Denmark, and the Netherlands have this very, very dynamic capital market. But you were telling us that too many startups in the Netherlands are leaving the Netherlands to go into the US. So tell us in a nutshell, which are the conditions to convince them to stay here?
It's about many things. And yes, they are expecting to leave, right? That's what they tell us, even if we have so much potential, right? Which is true. It's not even the 33 trillion of just the savings, but if you add to that the pension funds that you mentioned and the insurance company, we get to a 60. That should be quite enough to get us back on track. Then, with everything happening, still, Amsterdam and the Netherlands were leading for years together with these countries that you mentioned, but we're going down the last few years. Amsterdam has even dropped a few places again last week. And the other message was first was 37% expecting to leave the next 2 years. Now it's 47%. There's almost half expects to leave. So why is this? There's a lot of things going on. Usually you would say, oh, it's hard to raise capital locally or enough growth capital specifically. But we also hear what you're mentioning is like all the different regulations, also particularly in the Netherlands, that are just not working for startups. For example, you have to pay for sick leave for more than a year. That sort of, if you're a small startup, that's sort of quite detrimental for survival. You cannot use that budget for anything else. So that's the reason why many, even the unicorns of the Netherlands, like companies like Muse in hotel software business, there's only 10% actually based in the Netherlands. They're already gone. So on paper, they are still in the Netherlands, but most of these companies are already spread out. Their big market is the US, it's not Europe, although they did. And the way they've grown in Europe is sort of a buy and build strategy. You see this a lot. We need to break through that. You need to be able to scale on your own, like throughout Europe.
Can I ask you both of you to answer this question? We discussed until now about regulations, about capitals, about rules and legal environment. But if I ask you, don't you think that we have a problem of mentality in Europe? The problem of mentality means that to get all the results that the US had on AI, they had many failures. But after one failure, another attempt, new money, and then at the 9th, at the 10th, the great success.
Yeah.
Is it a mentality problem that is putting us in a corner? Because after a first failure, you put immediately the cross and to say that, oh, he's not a good entrepreneur because he failed. What do you think, Miguel?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Mr. Leta. But instead of saying a problem of mentality, I think that founders, when they are starting to scale their businesses and when they see that they are building something big, they need to look at more mature ecosystems and more mature markets. And maybe this is the reason why founders look at the US instead of expanding their businesses in adjacent markets from Dutch to Germany, from Germany to France, and they look at the US. Because, I mean, definitely this is something we can improve a lot. But when a founder look into the US market, they are going to see more sources of funding, more sources of capital, not only venture capital. They are going to see institutional investor, insurance company, pension funds, already investing, putting money in these projects. So with a different mentality in the way they see the risk for tech companies. And this is, for sure, one of the things we should improve here in Europe.
Yep.
We should diversify the sources of capital that the founder can use for their growth plans.
Yeah.
Lucien, what you tell us about mentality?
Can I add to that? Yeah, exactly. It's funny that you asked the question because this morning we have an app group with almost like 1,000 Dutch founders, and this was actually the topic between the US and Europe. I think we also remember this, that ambition scales to the capacity of the opportunity, like the market. So the bigger the opportunity for you, the more ambitious everybody gets. Also, the bigger the market gets, the more competition there will be among us, right? Which is good. It makes us want to succeed more. It makes us better than the other. We also kind of merge and come together, things like that. So where we hear usually that we are different. What I usually hear is that the US has sort of an opportunity network, opportunity-driven kind of network. Europe is more like a trust-driven network. So it takes a little bit more time here, and also that might explain why you get sort of on the cross if you if you fail. But in the end, I think we'll be very much helped by having this big single market of that's even larger than the US, with our great resources that we have in talent and capital. We should be able to create that same level of ambition or even more.
But if I ask you to link what we discussed until now to research, academia, university, the culture of spin-off, how do you see Europe there? Because it is clear that all these opportunities, part of them, they can start from a university background or environment, or they can be growing with a strong link with university activities. South Summit has, as you know, IE University as big partner, and since the beginning, this link between startups, innovation, and the academic environment, dynamic academic environment, is so fundamental. What do you think about this link?
I think I don't like to say that we have to copy the US thing too much. But definitely this is one of the few things in which should look at the US and how there the academia, the university works together with public companies, with private companies to foster research and putting this research then in the real economy. This is I think, and the minister said this morning in his remarks about that. We can work together, policymakers can work together to remove barriers in terms of fragmentation, regulation, wherever. But additionally, in parallel, we should work on more, let's say, appetite of the private sector supporting research and academia.
Well, the thing is this, from a perspective, like, the biggest thing that the problem that I see here is, yes, we need all to work together, and that's very important, and it is good that we do this everywhere. The point is, it's not that many years ago that we had this discussion with the University of Amsterdam, and we were explaining, like, listen, people do research here, and we need to be able to use those research into commercial practice, right? And you can have, like, maybe a little share or something like that, but not too much. And the response was, over my dead body, literally. That was his words. And so we have been fighting for a long time, and not just in the Netherlands, to make sure that universities do not put like a very big claim on the IP and the research that you will bring into a startup, right? So I think the spin-outs of university, they need to be encouraged way more, and would be great if we can get something from Brussels, from Europe for that. That would work in each country the same. On the other hand, this might be an opportunity for certain countries to be better than others. But honestly, the Netherlands, for example, has to go a long way. And you know, I would almost say they should act like venture capital level, understanding that entrepreneurs are the ones that need to grow the company and be in control, and do not be so protective over whatever has been accomplished at the university. What do you think about that?
I will tell you now a story, and I would like to ask you to give your comment and your answer to the question. I was chairing 2 months ago a panel in the US, and the title of the panel was "Can Europe Scale?" ? I asked the 3 panelists to start answering with yes or no, and then a second round with a deep dive. So I asked the first one. The first one said, I don't know how to answer. So I ask AI to answer. And I read the AI answer. And he read the AI answer. And the answer was, can Europe scale? Answer, no. Because Europe has 2 reports where it's written what to do, but European fragmentation, political fragmentation, each country with its own agenda, national agenda, it will be impossible. So it's no. Then I asked him, tell us which kind of AI. And he said, an American AI.
Of course.
In the room there was a European friend raising his hand, and he said, can I read another AI answer? And he read another AI answer, and the answer was yes. Europe can scale because of ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And of course, the AI in that case was a European AI. It's interesting because on these topics, the truth is truth with a small t, not with a big T. But I had a third episode, and then I ask you to comment in your final statements here. 2 weeks ago, our university is opening a good and a very interesting link with Fudan University in Shanghai. So I was in Shanghai. I told our Chinese friends this episode. And one very smart Fudan scholar, and he said, can I read the answer of DeepSeek to the same question? And the answer of DeepSeek of the same question, can Europe scale, was yes, Europe can scale. What is your takeaway from this story?
Yeah, I have no doubt that Europe can scale and will scale. But the thing is that we are not going to do this like being a mini US or doing in the US way. I mean, we are Europe. And one of the great learnings we have from the Euro crisis is that, and for me it's crystal clear, Europe is very slow to make decisions, but at the same time, Europe, when they want, we can be bold in making decisions.
Lucien.
Yeah, I think it's funny because this is an opinion of AI, of several AIs, right? And AI themselves, they are not going to scale Europe or the US or China. You know, it's the people that do. And in my opinion, in the end, it all starts with belief, right? The ambition. Do you believe that we can actually do this? I do. I would not be here or working on this for years. But it's also like every entrepreneur. They believe without knowing all the details of the future, or else you would not be a startup entrepreneur. You would be crazy and stop, right? So we believe.
I think this is the conclusion, perfect conclusion. We have not to be pessimistic or optimistic. We have to be proactive because we believe that is the only way to be successful. So please, great round of applause to Lucien and Miguel Angel for this great panel. Thank you very much.
Mr. Letta.